Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of Guild Watch. I am your host, Benjamin Big Daddy Cool Burton. With me today are Mark and Riley Baranowski. Guys, thanks for meeting with me.
Hey, thank you.
Mark and Riley are with On Mark Productions, an independent horror writing and music company here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Guys, the first thing is, really independent movies? How'd you get into it?
I never honestly saw myself as a filmmaker. I really only wanted to write. So it started with that as a screenwriter. Even had a manager in Hollywood, and for a couple years there did that exclusively. But me being here, her being out there, and just hearing the same old story, like, you know, the gears move slowly out here, so just be patient, it'll happen. And you know, honestly, you can only be patient for so long until you start going broke and the bills start piling up. So it was actually Bruce Campbell, actor Bruce Campbell, who suggested to me that I don't look to anybody else to fulfill my dreams and just become a producer and start shooting the films myself.
Mr.
So
Chan himself.
that's it, and that just went from there.
You're from?
I'm from Buffalo, New York,
Yeah.
actually, but I've been here in Charlotte since '96.
And Riley, you're originally from, where was it?
Charlotte.
Charlotte? Really?
Born and raised.
Wow, you're the only person I've ever met who's
thank
actually
you.
from Charlotte.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing the On Mark Productions? How long have you been in?
That officially started in 2001.
It's a while now, yeah.
Yeah, and it was, again, just out of pure desperation, and after getting that advice from Bruce, we just, the two of us, made our first film. It was a short, it was about a half hour long, and it was just the two of us in our apartment. Shot it over 2 nights, and within a month or so it was distributed. It was actually featured as...
Pretty cool, man.
Yeah, we got very lucky.
I've seen, I've gone over your website, and I actually met you at Con Carolinas a few years ago. Which, you know, that was pretty cool. And I talked to you a little bit then, and you were talking to me about Tartarus, this horror one right here. What brought the inspiration for this one about?
Tartarus was, I guess, that was my move from screenplays to books, I guess. It was a very short-lived experience. It's not a very thick book, as you can see, but it was just, I guess, my growing up on horror films and just that whole influence, my outpouring, just, that was it. That was the culmination.
What were your favorite horror movies just growing up?
I grew up mainly on the Italian stuff. The gorier, the better.
The gorier is
So at this point in my life, it takes a lot to shock me. Let's put it that way. So I'm searching for that, a constant search for.
Land.
Yeah.
Well, that's yeah. Real life, I can't handle blood. You know, I can't watch like a hospital scene or, you know,
All the people the
ER
same
stuff.
way.
I can't see that, but you know, the
Surgery
faker,
channel.
the blood. Yeah, it's just so.
Whereas I'm watching that all the time.
Right. She watches TV, I leave the room. But,
That's great.
But that's it, yeah. Like I said, I grew up on that stuff, you know, the Italian stuff.
What do you think makes a good horror story?
Horror or otherwise, it's really just down to the script. But with horror, you got a lot of leniency in horror. You know, just as you don't need a name cast in horror movies to sell really well. Really, it's just... Really, it comes down to nudity and blood.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I mean, God bless America.
Yeah. So, and that's it. There's no denying that. You're going up against, especially in the independent field, you're going up against the big budget stuff. Big budget stuff have their things, and pretty much what they can't put in, you have to put in to compete with them.
Yeah.
So, where you're not going to see an excessive amount of nudity, mainly the nudity, because nowadays I think the violence, you know, excessive violence is, especially in U.S. films, it's just...
Yeah.
It's natural with horror. It goes over the top nowadays, but...
What have been one of the more rewarding aspects of doing the independent and working for yourself and just distributing and everything?
It's, well, obviously the profit that comes in, it goes straight to us. You know, we pretty much self-distribute everything, like you said. And,
Yes, money is nice.
Yeah, and it obviously lets you keep doing it, and you know, you get to a point where it's like, you know, we've done so much, do we even need to bother?
Yeah.
You know, to continue. But as artists, I mean, you know, any artist will tell you, you know, you can't stop that urge, you can't stop the creative.
Get that muse.
That's just it, you know, and that, you know, it's inevitable. So every project leads to the next project. So that's...
Do you go to the conventions and you get the fanboys to come up and talk to you about your work, and it's just, do you ever get sick of people coming up to you at the conventions
No,
and
not
stuff
at all.
like that?
Not at all. I mean, that's really, they're the basis for what you do, and without them, what's the point of doing it?
You're getting like really weird, questions just completely out of left field.
I think she gets more of the weirdos than I do.
Let's hear a couple of those. Just
Do we really have to go there?
no, you don't have to.
One or two, I think, would.
Well,
bra sizes. I mean, they've already been covered.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. I don't
It's
know,
an A,
the
mine.
people that the emails and stuff that I get over the internet. I think the craziest one was a guy found out that I used to figure skate when I was younger. So he, wrote out a contract to fill out and everything. Wanted me to stomp on his hand
With the ice skates.
with the ice skates.
Was there money involved?
$1,500 just to do that. $2,000 if he lost a digit. And he was going to sign a waiver and do all this stuff and everything. And I pretty much called his bluff and said, yeah, go ahead and send the forms, and never heard back from him.
That was probably the wildest. As far as conventions, it's just, people that come
Yeah.
in and kind of recite your dialogue from your movies and
Yeah,
back
things like
at
that,
you,
or,
like,
or give you ideas
Yes.
for scenes, and
Us single male gamers, nobody
Yeah.
ever emails us that crap. It's usually like, stay away from my daughter type of thing.
right.
Hey, I think I left my dice bag at your house kind of email. Oh, man. Now, you guys will be at Con Carolina this year.
Yes.
absolutely.
And this is your third or fourth year?
As Onmark Productions, our third. Riley was there last year by herself, actually with another group. But so this will technically be.
How do you liking Con Carolinas?
It's great. It's great. Honestly, at first it was. I had to wonder if it was kind of away from what we are.
Yeah.
We're not really into the sci-fi. We're not really into the gaming. At least as far as our output, we certainly have an interest in it.
Yeah.
But as far as what we do, it's not. So, but Ron being the head of that, I think mainly he wanted to help support as locals and support the local artists and that.
By Ron, you were referring to Con Chairman and Guild favorite person of the year, Ron McClung.
Ron McClung.
Good old Ron. Yeah, we interviewed him last, and he was telling us about how the convention's kind of grown. Have you guys seen any of that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
That's great.
it was fairly humble beginning the first year we did it, but still definitely a convention.
I'm just glad to have something local.
Talk to me about the music. I've got right here Creature of Habit, which you guys put out a few years ago. And this is you on the cover, right, Ryle? That's an evil nun.
Mhm.
My dark side.
The dark side.
Yeah.
And an incredibly hot German chick. God, we need her around here. So what brought this around, man? What took you from the film to the literature to the music, man? I mean, is it just...
Well, the music has actually been around the longest. I started making music in the late '80s, so and that was when I only had 2 tape recorders to work with. So honestly, it was really just coming down to loops, just making songs out of loops.
Mm-hmm.
And
How would you describe your music?
this stuff, which is what I'm pretty much most famous for, is kind of dark wave. It's definitely electronic overall, but dark wave, kind of a mix between Marilyn Manson and Depeche Mode. I think would be
That's an interesting marriage,
an
okay.
eclectic mix. Yeah.
In a chainsaw sword fight, who wins in the fight between Wes Craven and Alfred Hitchcock, or who do you hope wins?
Oh man, well, probably Wes, even though he seems embarrassed about his beginnings. That's really where he was best off. I mean, the Last House on the Left, stuff like that. That was, Hitchcock. Films in general. Sure, he's a great influence, but it's got to be Wes. At least I say Wes. You agree?
I agree.
Also,
He's more wily.
mostly because if that fight were to take place, Alfred Hitchcock would have to come back as an undead zombie.
He
So
would,
we would
yes.
kind of still be
And
hoping for Wes Craven.
Yeah, that wouldn't be much of a fight.
All right, guys, that's another episode of Guild Watch. Thank you guys again. Mark, Rollins.
This is Sally, the main demon from Demons 2. The cleft face albino from the Funhouse. We got Marvin Gaye.